Hey y'all, it's Danielle from Black Business Boom and Black Owned Nashville, and we are live with industry expert Amy Brown. And Amy is going to be helping us when it comes to choosing the right insurance. And Amy is a injury law attorney, so she has seen lots of cases of folks not having the right insurance and how that can impact you if you actually were to become injured or have an accident. So I'm excited about this. I think I mentioned like choosing the right thing can really be hard. Like back in the day, I feel like it was a lot easier. You just called and said, I want full coverage or I need liability, and that was it. Now we're like online trying to pick all the stuff ourselves, and it can be a little difficult, even for some of us that think that we're pretty smart, like myself. So let's jump on in, Amy. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me back on today. So I'm looking
Absolutely.
forward to sharing with everybody.
Yes, I'm excited for this information. So let's talk about it. How do we go about making the decision on what sort of coverage we need?
Yes, first I want to say which I tell all my clients, insurance is for you. So make sure you have the right things for you. And even though it is an expense, it's much more expensive if you don't have it. So people think, like you said, liability or full coverage most of the time,
Mhm.
but they don't always know what those things mean. Liability is just coverage for the other party. If you were to hit someone, and there will be nothing that would happen to your vehicle. So if you hit somebody and you're at fault, there's nothing that's going to get fixed on your car. There's nothing that's going to happen with your medicals. You're on your own on that. Liability means just that. If I'm liable, I'll pay for the other party's damages, and that's it. And even with that, most of the time people are getting that because of a financial situation. That's the cheapest thing you could get, right?
Mhm.
But it's often not enough to cover everything. So if you get the minimal limits with liabilities, $25,000 here, medical bills, car bills are a lot of times higher than that. So you're putting yourself open to getting sued personally anyway. So it might be just better to just get the coverages in advance so you know you have enough to cover other people that you may hit.
Okay, so we can find ourselves in a situation where we had liability. We hit someone, their bills were higher than the coverage amount that we selected, and now we're getting sued. Okay.
Right, and then you're looking at hiring a lawyer, you're looking at, still
Mhm.
being responsible for those bills when you coulda just maybe paid, 100 more dollars or whatever a month, whatever that it might be. So
Okay. And so with that, are we, because again, like I said, most times we think liability or full coverage, but can we have a liability policy but increase the amount of coverage that we have under that liability policy and not have like just the basics to be legal?
yeah, you can. Companies sell it. They're not going to sell it as high as they would a full coverage policy.
Mhm.
It's just not probably because it's not readily used, but you can get it higher than the standard by maybe $50,000. I've seen policies written like that. But when you're looking at cost, it's still probably more cost effective to get a full coverage policy when you're instead of increasing those things. And
Okay.
then when people think full coverage, what that is essentially the liability that we just talked about, payment for the other party, in addition to comprehensive, which is like hail, tornadoes, a tree falls on your car, or collision coverage, meaning that if you cause this accident and there's damages to your car, this is when you're thinking about your deductible and things like that, then you can use that type of coverage. But it doesn't cover anything else. So there's still other things that you got to consider out there. And people just think it stops there. So there's what is most important, I think, is coverage, under uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage. They call it just to cover everything. But if you are hit by somebody and they don't have insurance or they don't have enough insurance, this is where that comes in. And this happens so much. People don't realize because, like I said, insurance is expensive. You got a lot of people just getting liability, they're getting the bare minimum, and you go to, St. Thomas or something, and your bill is $25,000
Yeah.
alone, and that
Yeah.
happens all the time. So, this policy steps in. This is when I say the insurance is for you. I wouldn't be caught without coverage because there are so many people that are uninsured, especially with the pandemic. Like I spoke to someone that worked for Progressive yesterday, and they were telling me that so many people dropped their policies because they couldn't afford it during the pandemic. So you got even more
Or
and more
because they weren't going anywhere. A lot of folks weren't going anywhere. They were like, I don't need that insurance.
Mhm.
I'm getting my groceries delivered to the house.
Right, but it's just Murphy's Law. The day you do go out, you hit somebody,
Or
and
somebody
then
hits you,
mhm,
right?
and
Yeah.
you can't pay for it. But that's really the most important. And in Tennessee, it covers anything that's an overage. So if the other person had a $25,000 policy and then you get $40,000 worth of damage, they're going to come in with the rest of that money above the $25,000. So you don't have to worry about really suffering a loss or trying to fill in the gaps, which you shouldn't have to do it if you're not at
And
fault.
so if you were to have that situation where someone only had a $25,000 liability policy and your bills were $60,000, you would have to, and you didn't have the insurance, then you would have to sue that person. That's when okay.
Mhm. But
Or
even
just cover the bill.
if you're suing somebody and they don't have it, they just don't have it. So it's not likely that you're gonna get the rest of the money. So that's what people have to understand. Like if they couldn't afford to have more insurance, they probably don't have, reserves like that. So really just get that insurance so you don't have to worry about that. So when that person hits you at 25,000 and you got $60,000 worth of bills, your company will, it's like a domino effect. As soon as that's gone, yours starts and then you get the remainder of your money. So
Is there, and I think a lot of folks think about, so their car may be older. And so they decide, well, I'll just get liability because the car is older. So I don't feel like it's worth, that much and if it gets totaled, then it just, gets totaled, but don't really think about the medical bill aspect.
mhm.
If you feel like, I have a great policy through my job, and if something happens, I'll be covered there, and I have an older car, does it still make sense to get that policy?
No, in that scenario, you could probably be okay without it, but then you just have to consider some things, like, do you have money in reserve to get another car
Mhm.
if your car is totaled? Now, the liability will cover the other party's medical bills, and if you do have, pretty good insurance with your job, maybe a health savings account or whatever, then you'll be fine medically speaking. There will not be compensation for lost wages or pain and suffering and things like that if you have them, unless that other party is insured properly. So those are other economic losses that would cover. So just so you may have medical bills, they'll cover that. You're still going to have to pay your deductible with the hospital if there's no car insurance to come in. And then if you lost wages at work, that's just gone. If you need future medicals, that's gone. So there's still very, very many advantages to having that type of policy.
Okay, I love it. That's great to know. Again, there's just so many things, so many decisions to make when it comes to insurance. Other than the is there anything else that you suggest that we have?
There's a policy type called medical payments or med pay, and it's usually offered to most people in increments of like 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000. That's where you see it when you're looking for your coverages, and that's a good thing to have if you don't, especially if you don't have health insurance. It'll pay your medical bills.
Mm.
Doesn't matter who's at fault. You can say, got in this accident, went to the hospital, I have this bill, ambulance bill or whatever. They'll tender the money right away to either you or to the company. So that's a good thing to have available. It's definitely not necessary, but it's nice to have if you don't have, that money for the ambulance bill. A lot of times, with personal injury cases, they take years to resolve, months to years. So those bills don't go away in the meantime. They're paid for out of your settlement. But a lot of people are very credit conscious, as they should be. So if you have med pay, you can say, you know what, I'm not going to wait for this settlement. I'm going to go ahead and pay my ambulance bill right now. And then you can recoup the money later. So it gives you just more options that you can have. So it's
Okay.
something that people should think about. And then if you have businesses or things like that, you can get advantages by doing like umbrella policies. There's ways that you can cover yourself, your businesses, your cars all at once. And of course, you would talk to an insurance professional, but those things the more insurance, the better. It's just
Yeah,
nobody
yeah.
wants to deal with it personally and have to come out of their pocket personally for some things like that. So,
Yeah, yeah, it's like insurance is always a strange kind of subject because you're like, I feel like I've been paying for it. I've had car insurance for 20 years and have never, knock on wood, never had an accident, right? So I've given somebody thousands of dollars, and never had to even use
It's
it.
such a gamble.
Right. It is such a gamble. It is such, and in Tennessee, it's even more of a gamble because these people cannot drive. And so I feel like you have to have coverage
You
and
do.
make sure you're covered here because people just drive really strange. And and it's not about how great of a driver you are when
Right.
you're on the road with so many other people who cannot drive.
Exactly.
So
Everybody else. People always ask me, like, when it snows, like, "You're from up north, why don't you drive?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but everybody else is from Nashville, and they drive like Nashvillians, so it's not no, I'm not doing that." So, but yeah, it's definitely about you, and there's so many people here that are reckless, they're unemployed, they're uninsured, so you just have to make sure that you're not gonna suffer a loss in the event that these things happen, you know?
I love it. Has been very, very helpful. And to hear it from an attorney that handles these type of cases and have seen when folks don't
Yeah,
have great insurance and how that can impact you in your life, and it's not something that just goes away overnight. It can be a very long term
yeah,
repercussions that you'll be dealing with after an accident. So
absolutely.
I really, really appreciate this information. Now, I think I remember you telling me that folks can get policy reviews, or you
They
would look
can.
at their reviews and let them at their policy and let them know if they have good
Yes,
coverage.
I
How
will let you know.
take advantage of that?
You can reach our office at 615-551-HURTS. We will give you a policy review. Absolutely. We'll make recommendations for you. You can also reach us online and on all socials at Nashville Injury Law. Nashville Injury Law Group is the website. And I did want to mention, I didn't mention this earlier, but gap insurance is important. It's not sold with usually not sold with regular car insurance, but if you're financing a car, chances are you're going to be underwater before the end of that loan is up. And if you get totaled, they're only going to pay for what your car is worth, not what you owe. Because you could owe $1 million on a 1992 Honda. They're not paying that. So
Right,
get gap
right.
insurance, and that will cover you in the gap, literally, what is between what it's worth and what you owe.
I have people ask that question all the time, in different ways and different forums. I hear people ask all the time, should I get the gap insurance? I've
Yeah.
had friends that are at the dealership buying a car and they're offered gap insurance and nobody ever really knows if they should take it or not, and it's not really expensive,
It's
so
not, and the good thing about it is if you pay your car off early, you can just call them and they will write you a check for the remainder of the gap insurance that you didn't use. So
ooh,
better safe than sorry again. But I total cars total very quickly now, and I always have people like, "Well, I still owe, 10,000. They're only gonna give me 7. What am I supposed to do? I can't pay this and go get a new car." So that is not a situation you want to be in.
it is not. It's not. I love that. That's a good thing to know. Like I said, a lot of people have asked me, and I'm like, I don't know.
Tell them yes.
That was reasonable. Like, it sounds like something you should have, but I really don't know. But
Yeah.
I love it. Wonderful. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Amy.
Danielle.
Again, the website, NashvilleInjuryLawGroup.com.
Yes.
Go to the website to find all of Amy's contact information for her office. Get in touch with them. Have them look over your policy and just make sure that you have the right coverages for you and your family. And also keep in mind that we do have an industry expert insurance agent, Jeff Flowers, who can help you as well. Jeff is available if you need a new policy. So he can help you if you reach out to Jeff. I think his website is jefflowers.net. I should have had that ready, but but make sure for sure that you go to NashvilleInjuryLawGroup.com, and that's where you can reach Amy. I was talking to Kathy earlier. That's where you can reach Amy. It's been a long day, Amy. Yeah.
Yes.
But that's where you can reach Amy, learn more about the practice. If you are out there right now dealing with a situation where you've been in an accident and you're trying to navigate that, her team is here to help you. So again, NashvilleInjuryLawGroup.com. we appreciate you so much for coming, Amy. This
Thank
was
you.
really helpful. I'm about to go pull up my policy right now while this is fresh and look at what my coverage is. So,
Right.
and I might be in touch about getting my review as well.
Right.
Yes, I love
Thank
it.
you.
Before we wrap up, I want to make sure that I let folks know, and this is their card here. Heartbeat of One's Destiny. I'm wearing their t-shirt and their earrings right now. The earrings say hood for those that can't see them, but the t-shirt says life is a team sport with individual responsibilities. And I just love that. And I felt like it was really fitting for all the conversations I'm having today, because it truly does take a team approach to help our community. And so I appreciate our team of industry experts for joining my team, first of all, and then coming every month and chatting with me and educating our community, because we need it. We don't know what we don't know. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. And thank you so much, Amy. Have a wonderful day.